Story 1, Paige, Columbus, Ohio, Christmas 2021. My name is Paige, and this happened to me in Columbus, Ohio, during the Christmas season of 2020. I've told this story more than once, and it still feels unreal every time I say it out loud. I matched with a guy named Ethan, and when he suggested getting a drink, I agreed. Not because I expected anything serious, but because I wanted one normal night. Just one moment that didn't feel like the world was about to fall apart again. Ethan was easy to talk to right away. Friendly, warm. He talked about Christmas like it still meant something, not just lights people forgot to take down. We met at a bar that was clearly trying to feel festive, string lights, fake greenery, and a bartender wearing a Santa hat that kept sliding down over his eyes. After a couple of drinks, Ethan suggested we go back to his place. I make mulled wine, he said. Bars feel strange lately. That felt reasonable. Everything felt strange back then. His apartment was about 10 minutes away. Second floor. Brick building. Inside, it felt carefully cozy. There was a Christmas tree in the corner, cinnamon candles burning, and one of those fireplace videos playing on the TV with soft jazz in the background. "You weren't kidding," I said, pointing at the tree. "I commit," he said, smiling. He poured the wine and handed me a mug like we'd known each other longer than we had. We sat on the couch, half watching a cheesy Christmas movie. The conversation was easy: bad jobs, family stuff, dumb holiday traditions. It all felt normal. When I checked my phone, it was getting late. Not extremely late, just late enough that leaving wouldn't be awkward. "I should probably head out," I said casually. "Early morning." He frowned. "Already come on, one more drink." He sounded playful, so I agreed. He refilled my mug before I finished it. Then it happened again, and again. Every time I shifted like I might stand up, he popped up with something. More wine, a story, a snack. Cookies suddenly appeared like they'd been waiting. It took me a while to realize it wasn't random. He was interrupting the moment where I decided to leave. I also noticed he wasn't really watching the movie. He was watching me, watching when I checked my phone, watching when I looked toward the door, like he was tracking my choices. I told myself I was overthinking. When I stood up again and said I was serious about leaving, he moved ahead of me into the hallway. "Relax," he laughed. "You're acting like I'm kidnapping you." He reached the door and locked it. "There," he said. "Now you can't leave, kidding." He laughed, but he didn't look at the lock. He looked at my face. I laughed too, because that's what you do when something feels wrong but you don't want to make it worse. "Okay," I said, "that's funny." His smile stayed, but it felt tighter. "You're so tense," he said. Then the questions changed. Where did I park? Did I live alone? Would anyone notice if I didn't answer my phone? Each question sounded casual. Together, they felt like paperwork. "I really need to go," I said more firmly. He stood in the hallway, not blocking it completely, just positioning himself so there wasn't a clear path past him. He kept smiling, kept talking, kept drifting just enough to stay between me and the door. I pulled out my phone. "I'm calling my roommate." He watched the screen openly. "You live alone," he said. "Yeah, sorry, I meant my friend." He stared at me calmly. "Why would you lie to me?" He didn't sound angry. He sounded curious, like he was testing an idea. I glanced at the lock. He followed my eyes. "I don't like being misled," he said. "I'm leaving," I said. He stepped closer, close enough that if I reached for the lock, my arm would brush his. "Sit," he said. "You're making this weird." "I'm done," I said, and turned toward the bathroom like I was grabbing my jacket. I locked the bathroom door as soon as it closed. My hands felt clumsy. The window above the counter was small, but it opened. Outside was a flat roof lightly dusted with frost. I didn't think I climbed. From the other side of the door, he knocked once. "Don't do anything stupid," he said calmly. I slid out the window, dropped onto the roof, then down to the ground. I twisted my ankle when I landed, but I kept moving. Behind me, Christmas music still played softly, like nothing was wrong. I ran to my car. Halfway there, I heard the window open. "Hey," he called. I didn't look back until I was inside the car with the doors locked. My hands shook as I started the engine. He stepped into the parking lot under the light. No coat, just socks on cold concrete. He stared straight at me. I drove away. A block later, my phone buzzed. "You didn't say goodbye." I blocked the number and pulled over, trying to breathe. The next day, the thing I couldn't stop thinking about was the door. Because when he joked and locked it, that was the deadbolt. But when I reached for it later, there was another latch already slid into place, the higher one you don't notice right away. Which means at some point, while we were laughing and drinking wine, he had locked me in twice. Now Christmas music doesn't sound cozy anymore. It sounds like cover noise. Story 2, Amber, Lakeland, Florida, December 2019. My name is Amber, and this happened to me in Lakeland, Florida, in December of 2019. I'm a stay-at-home mom, which means my brain is always juggling things: snacks, shoes, sunscreen, and keeping my kid clothes. Back then, my youngest son, Mason, was 6, old enough to notice things, young enough to still believe in magic if it looked convincing enough. That night, I wanted to give him a simple holiday memory, nothing fancy, just a small outdoor Christmas event near a shopping center. String lights, fake snow, loud music, tired parents pretending they weren't exhausted. The parking lot was chaos, cars circling, shopping carts clanging, kids pulling on sleeves. I had 2 shopping bags in one hand, Mason's hand in the other, and my phone tucked under my arm. I remember thinking, this is worth it. This is what December should feel like. We'd already seen Santa inside the event. Velvet ropes, a helper with a clipboard, a big cheerful backdrop. Mason told him he wanted Legos. We took the picture. Done. All I wanted after that was to get to the car without losing a mitten or my patience. That's when I saw Santa again. At first, it didn't seem strange. You see Santa costumes everywhere in December, but this one wasn't near the crowd. He stood near the edge of the lot where the lights faded and the music was quieter. He stepped out from between 2 parked cars and waved. "Hey there," he called cheerfully. "Hey buddy, come here for a second." Mason slowed, confused. Santa pointed toward a van a few spaces away. Dark-colored, old, tinted windows, no decorations. "I've got extra presents," Santa said. "The really good ones. Can't bring them out here with everyone around." I tightened my grip on Mason's hand. "No thank you," I said quickly. "We're good." Santa's eyes stayed on Mason. Then he said his name. "Mason." My chest went hot. Mason leaned closer to me. Santa smiled wider. "Don't be shy, big surprise." "How do you know his name?" I asked. He blinked. "Santa knows everyone's name." Mason whispered, "Mom, I've seen him before." My stomach dropped. "Seen who?" I asked. "Him," Mason said, nodding. Santa's smile didn't change. "Where?" I asked. Mason pointed toward the van, by the street near our house. I stood straighter. Santa stepped closer. "Hey now, let's not make this awkward. I'm just trying to give the kid a present." People were walking by, but no one was paying attention yet. I moved so I was fully between Santa and my son. "We're leaving." Santa's voice sharpened. "Ma'am, I'm not doing anything wrong." "Back up," I said. He leaned slightly, trying to see Mason around me. Then he reached toward my child. "Don't touch my kid," I said loudly. Heads turned. I pulled out my phone and started recording. "I'm recording," I said. "Step away." For a second, he froze. Then the Santa act dropped completely. No apology, No smile, just irritation. "You don't have to do all that," he said. "Yes," I said, "I do." Someone nearby started walking toward us. Another woman slowed her cart. Santa glanced at the van. Then he walked fast toward it, too fast. The side door slid open. He got in. The van pulled away smoothly, like the driver had been waiting. I stood there shaking, my phone still raised. Mason pressed into my side. "That's him," he whispered. "That's the guy." Police came later. They asked questions, checked cameras. The license plate wasn't clear. Mason told them he'd seen the man before near our mailbox while riding his bike. That night, I sat on the couch with the blinds closed, replaying the video again and again. For weeks after, every van made my chest tighten. Every time Mason went outside, I watched. Here's the part that still sticks with me. He wasn't being Santa. He was wearing Santa. And Mason didn't recognize him as Santa at all. He recognized the man underneath. Which means that night, he wasn't guessing. He thought he'd found the right moment. He thought I'd be distracted. He was wrong. Story 3, Retail Manager, December, year unspecified. I was 29 and working as a retail manager, which meant December didn't feel like a month. It felt like a test. Long shifts, endless lines, Christmas music playing until it stopped sounding cheerful and started sounding mechanical. I lived alone in a small apartment building on the southeast side of town. 2 stories, thin walls, quiet neighbors. It wasn't special, but it was peaceful, and after work, peace mattered. Santa was everywhere that month. In the store, on posters, on sweaters. We even had a life-size Santa cutout near the registers that startled people if you turned too fast. By the time I got home each night, Santa didn't mean joy. He meant work. That's probably why it took me a moment to notice something was wrong. The first night I saw him, it was almost midnight. I just closed the store, driven home on autopilot, and parked under the same flickering light as always. When I looked up, someone was standing near the entrance. Red coat, white trim, hat, beard. Santa. He wasn't ringing a bell, he wasn't packing, he wasn't on his phone. He was just standing there, facing the building, like he was waiting. There was no mall nearby, no event, no reason for Santa to be outside an apartment building that late. I stayed in my car watching him for a minute. When he didn't move, I got out and walked past, pretending nothing was strange. As I passed, he turned his head slightly, just enough to acknowledge me. That was it. I went inside, locked my door, and laughed it off. December makes people weird. The next night, I closed again. Same routine. And Santa was there again. Same spot, same stillness. That's when it stopped feeling funny. I stayed in my car and watched. He didn't fidget, didn't sway. He stood like someone who knew exactly where he was supposed to be. I called my friend Lauren. "There's a Santa outside my building," I whispered. She told me to call the police. I said I didn't even know how to explain it. That night, I waited until he turned slightly away before going inside. I locked everything. Nothing happened. But after that, I started noticing patterns. He didn't show up every night. Only on nights I closed. Only on nights I worked alone until midnight. If I got off early, no Santa. If someone else closed, no Santa. I stopped posting my schedule. I parked in different spots. I checked reflections without realizing I was doing it. Then one night, he wasn't where he usually stood. I felt relief until I saw him by the side of the building, closer to my unit, standing in shadow. His head was tilted up. He was looking at my window. I knew because I had a cheap snowflake light stuck to the glass from inside, glowing faint blue. I stayed in my car and called 911 quietly. "There's a man outside my apartment," I said. "He's dressed like Santa. He's looking at my window." While I was talking, He lowered his head and turned toward the parking lot. Toward me. He lifted one gloved hand, like he knew I was there. Then he walked behind the building and disappeared. Police arrived 10 minutes later. They searched everywhere. Before leaving, one officer shined his flashlight into the bushes where Santa had been standing. He picked something up, a single strand of white synthetic hair from a fake beard. I wedged a chair under my door that night, slept with the lights off so my window wouldn't glow. For weeks, I told myself I overreacted. But here's what I can't shake. He wasn't wandering town dressed as Santa. He wasn't surprising strangers. He was waiting where I lived, like it was his shift. Story 4, Maddie, South Bend, Indiana, December 2022. My name is Maddie. I'm from South Bend, Indiana. This happened a few nights before Christmas in 2022. I was 22 and finishing my last year of college. I wasn't reckless. I did all the usual safety things without thinking. Keys ready, phone charged, routes planned. Midnight Mass was the one tradition I kept every year. Not because I was deeply religious, but because it felt calm. Candles, soft music, people being gentle for an hour. That night the church was full in a quiet way. Coats piled on pews, parents whispering to tired kids. The air smelled like wax and old wood. I sat near the middle. That's when I noticed him. He sat 3 pews behind me, alone. Plenty of people come alone, but something about him stood out. Everyone else moved together, standing, kneeling, sitting. He was always just a beat off. When I looked back once, he was already looking forward toward me, not staring, watching. I told myself I was imagining things. The service continued, candlelight spread. I tried to relax. When it ended, I waited for the crowd to thin before leaving. When I stood up, I saw him already on his feet, angled toward the exit. Outside, the cold woke me up completely. The parking lot felt safe, people talking, saying Merry Christmas. I started walking toward the side street where I'd parked and texted my friend Jenna something dumb. Halfway across the lot, I looked back. He stood across the lot, staring at me. I slowed, he started walking. I told myself it was coincidence. I turned toward my car. He turned too. The street was quiet. I passed one corner and decided to test it. Instead of turning toward my car, I kept going straight. At the next corner, I turned right. I waited 3 seconds and looked back. He turned right too. That's when denial stopped working. I called Jenna and spoke loudly on purpose, said I was almost home. He got closer. I saw a house ahead with a bright porch light and steps. I ran up and knocked hard. Behind me, his footsteps stopped. The porch light flicked on, a curtain moved, and he backed away into the dark. The door opened, I explained quickly. The man let me in. Police came later. There was nothing to point at, no proof. I still go to church sometimes. I just don't go to midnight mass anymore. Because that night used to feel safe. Now it feels like a night someone can quietly choose you.